The first thing I remember is the sound, soft, wet, rhythmic, like fingers drumming on the inside of a coffin. I didn't know then what it really was. I didn't know it was the lanterns knocking together in the tide, tapping like teeth chattering from the cold. I thought it was just the ocean welcoming me back, the way it always does, whispering in that low, hungry voice that only I seemed to hear. I should have turned back the moment the fog parted and the lantern sea opened in front of me, glowing in that sickly amber shimmer. But something inside me, a pull deeper than instinct, forced my hands to steady the oars and push forward. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was madness. Maybe it was the simple truth that the sea was calling me by name again, despite all the times I'd sworn I would never return. My name doesn't matter anymore, but if you insist, call me Mara. I was born on the cliffs overlooking this ocean, raised in a village that pretended not to see it. They faced their houses away from the water, angled their windows toward the hills, and sealed their doors with charms that crumbled every winter. It's just an old tale, they used to say. An old tale and a bad memory. But every night, when the wind blew from the east, the lanterns came drifting in closer, tiny points of flame like watching eyes. And if you listened carefully enough, you could swear you heard them speak. I learned to listen too well. The first lantern I ever touched belonged to my sister. I didn't know that then. She had vanished months before, slipped in the night, left no footprints, left no note. People said she drowned herself, that the sea sometimes lured children with the voices of their loved ones. Some said she ran away from home. Others whispered that the lanterns had taken her, that the souls inside were not content to drift forever in silence. No one dared to look for her, except me. I still remember the night I found her lantern. Small, red, cracked at the top, drifting against the shore like a wounded animal. It pulsed faintly, lighting the sand in uneven breaths. I thought someone had lit a memorial. But when I knelt down and placed my fingers on its glass, the world shrank to a single whisper curling through my bones. Mara, her voice, thin, far away, but hers. I ran. I ran so fast I dropped the lantern and didn't dare look back. I didn't sleep. I didn't go near the shore again for 2 years. Until tonight. Tonight, when the water turned a deeper shade of black than I've ever seen, and the lanterns lit themselves in a way that made the entire horizon look like a graveyard floating on fire. I knew this wasn't chance. The sea was summoning me. Something was calling me back. Something wearing my sister's voice like stolen clothing. I'm older now, less afraid, or maybe more desperate. The boat rocks beneath me as I row, the fog slithering over the rim like fingers reaching for my wrists. The lanterns drift in clusters, some dim, some bright, some flickering as though on the verge of extinguishing. Each one holds a soul trapped in its tiny prison, sentenced to drift here for reasons none of the villagers agree on. Some say these are souls that refuse to move on. Others say they are souls that weren't allowed. Still others claim the lanterns grow from the sea itself, feeding on memories, devouring the dead. All I know is this. Once a lantern's flame goes out, the sea keeps the soul. Forever. The water grows quieter as I row deeper. Even the waves seem to stop breathing. I trail my fingers across the surface, and the cold is so sharp it feels alive, almost intelligent. Lanterns drift in closer, bumping against the wooden hull like blind animals curious about the newcomer. One by one they begin to glow brighter, as if recognizing me, as if remembering. I tighten my grip on the oars. My heart pounds, but I force myself to breathe slow, steady breaths. I'm here for her, I whisper. I'm here for my sister. The lanterns flicker in unison, like the sea itself is exhaling. Then a voice, small, strained, impossibly close, whispers, "Mara, you're late." The lantern beside me, an old one, its glass stained green with algae, quivers. The flame inside shifts, stretching like a hand pressed against the inside of the glass. My breath catches. "Elle sera." I breathe, but the voice that answers is not hers. Turn back. The flame jolts violently, and the lantern cracks, a thin fracture splitting down its side. A sound rises from within it, something that never should escape the shape of a human throat. I shove the lantern away with the end of the oar, my pulse hammering like a trapped bird. The lantern drifts back into the fog, leaving a trail of dying embers behind it. Not her. Not yet. But it knew my name, which means she must be close. The sea darkens further, its glow swallowed by shadows rising from below. I feel something shift beneath the boat. A current, slow and deliberate, wrapping around the hull like a hand. My legs go numb. The air thickens. The lanterns gather more tightly, forming a ring around me, closing in like an audience waiting for a confession. I'm not leaving, I hiss. The water answers with a long, soft sigh. Then I see it. A lantern sitting perfectly still in the open water. Unlike the others, its flame does not flicker. It burns steady, bright, unwavering, as though daring the darkness to swallow it. The glass is clear and flawless, untouched by time or salt. I know it before I touch it. I feel it before I pull it into my lap. My sister's lantern. My throat tightens. My chest aches with the kind of pain that has no name. I lift it gently, feeling its warmth seep through my palms. And for a moment, a small moment, I am a child again, and she is beside me, laughing beneath the cliffs, our feet splashing in the tide. Then the lantern speaks. Mara, don't open it. Her voice, soft, terrified. The other lanterns immediately retreat, dimming as though bowing their heads. The water grows impossibly still, and the current circles me tighter, like the sea is clenching a fist around my boat. Sarah, I whisper, shaking. I'm here to get you out. No, she breathes. Not me. I can't leave. I'm not the one calling you. A chill runs up my spine. What do you mean? Her flame trembles violently. He wants you, Mara. The sea groans deep, ancient, hungry, and the lanterns begin to scream. The screaming begins like a low vibration, a distant hum trembling across the ocean's skin. Then it sharpens, splitting into individual voices, cracked and broken, each one trapped in its tiny glass cell. Lanterns thrash against one another, clattering like bones tumbling down stone steps. Their flames swell and shrink violently, flashing in rapid bursts of color that make my eyes sting. I clutch my sister's lantern against my chest, curling protectively around it. Sarah, what's happening? Her answer shivers through the glass. He's waking. The sea groans again, louder this time, rising from somewhere deep beneath the boat. Thick ripples spread outward, pushing aside the lanterns as though they're nothing more than dust floating on breath. The fog churns overhead, coiling downward like a hand closing around my throat. Who? I whisper, but I already know. Every child born near the lantern sea grows up hearing the same forbidden tale. The ocean did not always keep the dead. It only started after something ancient fell into its depths. Something that should have stayed buried. Something that learned hunger. The villagers never named it. Naming a thing gives it power, gives it shape. But the elders had a term they only used once, when they thought no children were listening. They called him the Keeper, the thing that collects the lost, the thing that keeps them lantern-bound, the thing that does not like escape. The lantern's screaming stops all at once. Silence hits the water like a hammer. Then, slowly, a lantern directly beside my boat turns toward me. They don't normally move like that. They drift. They bob. They follow currents. They do not turn. But this one does with intention, with focus, with hunger. The flame inside stretches long, forming the shape of a mouth pressed against the glass. Give her back. It rasps. But the voice is not Sarah's, not any human's. It's deeper. Wet. Cold. Like something speaking through a throat full of seawater. My stomach lurches. I shove off the lantern with an oar, harder this time, and it spins away. But the moment it does, another takes its place. Then another. And another. Soon the boat is surrounded by dozens. No, hundreds of lanterns turning in unison. Flames deforming into gaping shapes, each whispering the same thing. Give her back. I grip Sarah's lantern tighter. Mara, she pleads. You have to leave me. Throw me back. Now, before he rises. I'm not abandoning you. I snap, my voice trembling with fear and rage. Not again. You never abandoned me, she whispers. You're the only one who tried to find me. But this place isn't for the living. The sea heaves suddenly beneath the boat, lifting it several feet before slamming it back down. Water splashes over the rim. The lanterns scatter, then converge again, glowing brighter, forming a luminous spiral around the boat. He's coming closer. The fog pulls apart like curtains, and something enormous begins rising from the deep. At first I think it's a massive rock shelf surfacing, but then it moves, swelling and sinking with the rhythm of breath. Dark water pours off it in sheets. Its shape is wrong, shifting, grotesquely fluid like a body made of melted wax reforming itself every second. Tangled tendrils unfurl from its sides, some thick as tree trunks, some thin as fishing lines, each glowing faintly with embedded sparks. Not sparks, lantern fragments. I choke on a gasp. Each fragment flashes with a dying flame. Souls ripped out of their lanterns and swallowed into its form. Mara, Sarah's voice breaks. Don't look at him. But it's too late. The keeper fully surfaces. A towering, shifting mass, half liquid, half flesh, covered in broken lantern glass that glitters like drowned stars embedded in skin. Its top surface lifts, arching like the curve of a skull, and a vast, dark cavity opens, filled with flickering light. A mouth, a lantern-lined mouth. The voice that spills out shakes the ocean itself. Child of the cliffs, it rumbles. You took what is mine. The lanterns around me tremble violently, their flames bowing toward the massive shape as though paying respect or fear. My throat tightens. She's not yours, I shout. But the words come out thin, swallowed instantly by the immense presence in front of me. The keeper tilts, its cavernous mouth splitting further in a grotesque imitation of a smile. All souls are mine.
Serait-ce flamme sputter, flicker, diminue.
Mara, please, she whispers, barely audible. Throw me back. Now, you don't understand. He can't take you if you let me go. A tendril rises from the keeper's surface, dripping thick black water, reaching toward the boat. It moves with unsettling patience, like something savoring the moment before a kill. My pulse pounds so hard it feels like my ribs might crack. I'm not letting you die here, I hiss through tears. I already died, she replies. I'm begging you, save yourself. The tendril slides closer. The lanterns part reverently, clearing a path for it. The temperature drops so sharply I feel the cold gnawing through my teeth. I lift my sister's lantern to my chest and stand, the boat rocking dangerously.
No, he whisper.
If you're trapped, then so am I. We finish this together. The keeper's voice rolls across the water, sinking into my bones. So be it. The tendril lunges. I leap. The lantern shatters. Light explodes, and the sea swallows me whole. The cold hits me like a falling mountain. Instant, crushing, absolute. It forces the breath from my lungs before I even break the surface of the water. When I plunge into the lantern sea, it feels less like entering water and more like sinking through liquid night. Something thick, aware, watching. The shattered pieces of my sister's lantern drift around me like dying stars, their light flickering weakly in the dark. I reach for them instinctively, even as the sea pulls me downward with greedy, invisible hands.
Sera.
I choke, but the water bites the word apart. The ocean presses against my skin, slipping beneath my clothes, cold enough to dull my heartbeat. I kick upward, but my limbs feel heavy, dragged by currents that move against all logic, swirling in impossible shapes. The deeper I fall, the brighter the broken shards glow, illuminating ghostly shapes within the water. Faces. They flicker into existence for seconds at a time. Cheeks distorted, lips stretched wide, eyes empty and pleading. Souls caught mid-scream, pressed into the currents like insects trapped in amber. Hands brush my ankles. Dozens of them. The ghostly faces distort, mouths opening wide and silent, bubbling pleas. Let go. Help. He's coming. Don't. Look. Their voices don't reach my ears. They strike directly inside my mind, vibrating through my skull like distant echoes. Then I see her.
Sera.
Not as the lantern-bound flame I held minutes ago, but as she looked the night she vanished. Hair streaming around her like dark clouds, eyes wide with unmistakable fear. She floats just beyond the reach of my hands, her outline shimmering like heat distortion. And she's sinking.
Sera. Sera.
My scream is swallowed instantly. I kick harder, lungs burning, muscles trembling. But the water thickens, turning into a viscous drag that resists every motion. The currents twist around her like chains, pulling her deeper. Her mouth moves, but this time, I hear her clearly, impossibly, inside my head. You shouldn't have come. Then the darkness beneath her splits open. Not the keeper. Not yet. Something smaller emerges first. An orb of pure black, smooth and round like an eye with no lid. It floats upward lazily, as though taste-testing the water. Then another appears beside it. And another. Soon a dozen pitch-black orbs surround us, each one reflecting faint lantern light, each one cold and conscious. The souls trapped beside me recoil, dissolving into the currents. The orbs tilt toward me, watching, studying. Then one blinks. A vertical slit tears through it, glowing with dim ember light. A pupil, not orbs. Eyes, the keeper's smaller eyes, the ones he sends ahead to hunt. The water around me erupts into motion. The eyes dart in spiraling patterns, leaving trails of dark smoke that curl like ink in the current. They move with impossible speed. One moment inches from my face, the next moment circling Sarah like vultures predicting a corpse. Sarah's image flickers, trying to stay solid. Mara, don't look at them. They sense by sight. If you don't meet their gaze, they can't. But I can't help it. One eye rushes toward me. I freeze, my gaze meeting its unblinking slit. The water vibrates with a low sonic crack, and agony shivers through my body. My mind feels like someone is peeling it open, prying into memories I've never spoken aloud. The cliffs where I grew up, the night Sarah vanished, the guilt that ate me alive afterward, the whispered belief that she left because of me. The eye pulses, it feeds, something hot trickles from my nose, blood drifting in a thin ribbon upward. The eye drifts closer, nearly touching my forehead. I can feel it burrowing deeper into my thoughts, stripping through me like fingers rifling through pages. Stop! Sarah's voice slashes through the water like lightning. Her flickering form flings itself between me and the eye. A burst of pale light erupts from her chest, the last echo of her shattered lantern, pushing the eye backward. But the effort tears her form apart. She flickers violently, dissolving at the edges.
Sera.
I reach for her, my hand passing through her like smoke. Her eyes meet mine, sad, apologetic. I can't protect you anymore, she whispers. You broke the lantern. My soul is fading. That's what he wanted, Mara. He needed you to free me so he could take you instead. My stomach twists. What? Her form trembles, almost transparent now. He wasn't calling me. He was calling you. I was just the lure. The realization detonates inside my skull. The nights I heard Sarah whispering in the waves. The lantern drifting to me untouched by the current. The voices that knew my name. All orchestrated. All manipulated. All bait on a hook. The keeper didn't want a soul returned. He wanted a soul worthy of taking. And I came willingly. The eyes swirl around me, faster, tighter, their slitted pupils opening wider with hunger. My chest burns. The pressure threatens to burst my lungs. Sarah reaches toward me, but her hand disintegrates into light, her body unraveling like thread. Mara, run, she whispers, voice fading. Her words die abruptly, because the entire ocean begins to move. A tremor ripples through the dark. The lanterns above shatter in massive chains, raining down sparks. The water pulls downward like a vast inhalation. And from the abyss beneath us, the keeper rises. Full, monstrous, awake. His lantern-studded maw yawns open, wider than any whale's, glowing with thousands of stolen lives. And he speaks directly into my skull. Come home. The ocean collapses inward, and I am dragged into the abyss. The world becomes pressure and darkness and the crushing certainty that this is the end. That whatever I was is already being dissolved, unmade, swallowed by the abyss that the keeper calls home. The water around me tightens like a fist, pulling me down faster than sinking should allow. My limbs aren't limbs anymore. They're numb shapes drifting behind me like fabric caught in a current. Yet somehow I'm still conscious, still aware, still falling. The lantern sea above shrinks into a pale glow, then into a pinprick, then into nothing. The deeper I sink, the warmer the water becomes, as though I'm descending into the throat of some enormous beast. The pressure around me changes too, not crushing anymore, but vibrating, humming, pulsing in a rhythm that feels wrong, like a heartbeat imitating a heartbeat. Not living, but pretending to. Then the humming resolves into whispers, thousands of them, layered on top of one another, overlapping so densely the sound feels like it's happening inside my teeth. Old voices, young voices, some crying, some pleading, some murmuring nonsense syllables like the remnants of broken minds. They surround me, circling like a storm. Turn back. Finish it. Don't let him. You shouldn't have come. He's waiting. Their words crumble as quickly as they form, and then sudden silence. A shape blooms out of the void in front of me. Not the keeper. Not yet. Something smaller drifts up from the darkness like a rising lantern, except it has no glass, no flame. Just a faint internal glow that outlines a human form, hollow, translucent, made of water and light.
Sera.
Not her echo, not her memory, not her flame, her soul, her real soul, not flickering, not cracking, not trapped behind glass. This version of her is clear, steady, unbearably gentle. Her eyes are dim pools of light, swirling slow like eddies. Sarah, I breathe or think I breathe. My body is useless now, but my consciousness still moves toward her like gravity. She raises a hand, but she doesn't smile. You shouldn't have broken the lantern, she says softly. Something in the darkness shifts, huge, deliberate. He let me go, she continues. He wanted exactly this. I don't understand, I whisper, even though the horror already coils through my chest like an iron hook. Sarah drifts closer, her light illuminating shapes around us. Massive pillars rising from the deep like the ribs of a great serpent. Each one is etched with twisted symbols that glow faintly, pulsing in sync with the keeper's heartbeat. He needs a living soul to anchor the gate, she murmurs. A living mind, willing to step into the deep. A mind twisted by guilt. A heart bound to the dead. I was never the one he wanted, Mara. I shake my head, even though my physical body is too numb to move. He took you, I protest. He trapped you. No, she says quietly. I followed him, not by choice but by consequence. When I drowned, he claimed me. But you, her expression breaks with grief. You came to him willingly. That gives him power over you. That makes you the bridge. The bridge. My voice cracks. The darkness below us expands, like an enormous set of jaws unhinging. You're the one who will open the lantern gate. Cold spikes through me. I won't, I whisper. I won't let him use me. You won't have a choice, Sarah says, throat tight. He's already inside you. I don't feel him. You will. She touches my chest. For a moment, I feel warmth, real warmth, spreading through me. A memory rises behind my eyes. Her hand in mine the day she taught me to read the tide. Her laughter ringing off the cliffs. The way she always stepped between me and danger, even when she was the younger one. Then the warmth turns sharp. Pain erupts like lightning through my ribs. I clamp my lips shut to keep the scream inside. Sarah withdraws her hand, face breaking. He marked you the moment you touched my lantern, she whispers. He's been waiting inside your heartbeat ever since. The moment you entered the sea, You belong to him.
No. Y rasp.
But I feel it now. A second heartbeat beneath my own. Slow, heavy, ancient. Inside me, the keeper is not approaching. He's wearing me. Below us, something massive unfurls. Lanterns embedded in its flesh lighting one by one, like stars igniting inside a dead universe. The keeper's true form rises higher, revealing a vast, spiraling shape like a whirlpool made of bone and shadow. Tendrils extend outward, each lined with thousands of tiny, flickering lights. Souls, all trapped, all watching, all screaming without sound. Mara, Sarah says, voice shaking. If he anchors himself through you, he'll be able to cross. Cross where? I whisper. Her eyes meet mine, filled with apology. Out. The keeper's voice rolls up from the abyss, cold and triumphant. Open. My mind splits. The second heartbeat surges. And suddenly, I am sinking and rising at once, my vision turning white-hot, my veins burning like molten glass, the sea folding inward around me as if reality itself is bending, tearing. And then something snaps. Everything goes silent. Everything goes still. And I feel the lantern gate opening inside my chest. The opening is not a wound, not at first. It feels like a breath held too long finally exhaling. A release, a surrender. Light pours out of me. Not from my skin, but from somewhere deeper, somewhere no human ought to have an opening. The water around me churns and spirals, drawn into that impossible space, twisting into patterns that make my eyes ache just to witness. The sea is being rearranged around me, folding like fabric pulled through a ring. My insides throb in pulses of blinding heat, and an electric pressure radiates through every nerve, rewriting me as it expands. The lantern gate. It's not a structure. It's not a door. It is a function, something the keeper needs a human body to perform. Connection point, a threshold. And he has made me that threshold. Sarah's light body flickers violently, pulled toward me by invisible currents. She claws at the water, trying to resist, her face contorted in panic. Mara, close it. Fight him. You have to. I can't. I scream or think I scream because I no longer feel air, no longer feel lungs, no longer know where my body ends and the light begins. The pressure intensifies and I feel my ribs bend. Not break, but bend, as though they're being softened from the inside. My mind is slipping, thought by thought, dissolving into white static. The keeper's heartbeat thrums inside my skull now, drowning my own. Thud, thud, thud. Each pulse widens the gate. Each pulse weakens me. Sarah's voice tears through the static. Mara, listen. Her words hit me like a stone dropped into water. They ripple, cutting through the keeper's hold for a split second. Remember the cliffs, she says, desperate. Remember the lighthouse. Remember the night we stayed out past curfew and watched the lanterns drift in. You told me. Do you remember what you told me? Her voice fractures around the edges, but I cling to it, pulling her words into my unraveling mind. You said you'd never let the sea have us, she whispers. Never. A memory slams into me. Sarah's small hand holding mine, her eyes reflecting the lantern sea, her voice trembling as she asked me if the dead could come back. And my answer? Fierce, childish, absolute. I'll protect us. Always. The gate inside me stutters. The keeper's heartbeat falters. One beat, two, as if startled. A thin crack forms in the white blaze enveloping me. A thin crack of me. Through it, I feel the keeper's awareness shift, confused, irritated, then furious. A voice like a collapsing ship groans through the deep. You are mine. The gate flares violently, fresh light tearing through the crack, trying to dissolve it. My mind screams, soundlessly, agonizingly. As the sea buckles around us, Sarah lunges forward, her soul form blazing brighter than I've ever seen. Mara, hold on. She reaches into the light and grabs me, not my skin, myself, the part of me that is memory and will and love and fear, the part the keeper is trying to hollow out. When she touches me, everything slows. The roaring white light becomes a muted hum. The crushing pressure becomes a distant ache. The keeper's heartbeat becomes a faint, angry throb. I see her clearly, her face calm, determined, glowing with a strength she never had in life. Mara, she whispers, you protected me once. Now let me protect you. Her light surges through me, warm, steady, painfully familiar. It threads through the keeper's power like veins of gold threading through stone. Wherever her light touches, the gate trembles, flickers, recoils. The keeper roars. The abyss shudders. Lanterns embedded in his monstrous body flare uncontrollably, bursting like dying stars. Souls spill out in ribbons of light, spiraling upward, freed by the disruption. The keeper thrashes, tendrils lashing, twisting, trying to reclaim control. But each strike misses us by inches, deflected by Sarah's growing radiance. For the first time since he woke, the keeper is afraid. Sarah looks at me, her expression softening. I can close the gate, she says, but it will take everything I am. I'll burn out, completely. There won't be anything left of me. Not in a lantern, not in the sea. I'll be gone.
No, I whisper.
I can't lose you again. You won't, she murmurs. Not if you carry me. Not if you live. Her light flares. The gate contracts. The keeper shrieks, a sound that shakes the entire lantern sea. Sarah leans closer, presses her forehead gently to mine. Live Mara, she breathes, for both of us. And then she lets go. Her soul explodes into pure light. It rushes into the gate, slamming it shut, crushing the keeper's hold, severing the connection. Tearing his essence out of me in a single blinding pulse, the abyss convulses. The lantern sea ruptures with light, and my world goes dark. Darkness doesn't feel empty. It feels heavy, like a blanket soaked through with seawater, pressing down on every inch of me. I drift inside it without shape, without breath, without certainty that I even have a body anymore. My thoughts scatter like minnows, slippery and incomplete. But something anchors me. Warmth. A faint glow in the blackness, pulsing slow and gentle, like a memory refusing to die.
Sera.
Not her voice, not her face, not her soul, not anymore. Just her warmth, lingering in the space where she touched me. A last echo of herself pressed into my mind like a handprint left on glass. I cling to it, hold it tight, piece myself around it, and slowly, painfully, the darkness thins. Light leaks into the edges of my vision. At first, I think it's Sarah returning, but the light is cold, distant, rippling across curved surfaces. A pale shimmer dances above me. Something moves, the world shifts.
I'm floating.
On water, the lantern sea. I gasp violently, sucking in air so sharply it feels like my chest might tear open. My limbs thrash instinctively, hands breaking the surface. The cold stings my skin, but it's real. It's real and I'm alive. Coughing, shaking. I twist onto my back and stare up at the sky. The fog is gone. The stars are visible. And the lanterns are scattered across the sea, drifting like fallen embers after a great fire. Their flames are dimmer than I've ever seen, as though the ocean itself has been exorcised of its usual hunger. No monstrous shadow moves beneath the waves. No tendrils break the surface. No ancient heartbeat echoes in my bones. The keeper is gone. Sarah is gone. The realization cracks something inside my chest. I curl forward, pressing my face into my trembling hands, the salt water around me mixing with the salt water spilling from my eyes. Sarah. My voice breaks.
I'm sorry.
The sea answers only with the soft lapping of waves. But the water is different now, lighter, gentler. No whispers haunt its surface. No faint cries rise from the depths. The soul storm that once churned beneath the lanterns has quieted into something almost peaceful. Almost. I force myself to breathe, to steady my shaking limbs, and I begin to swim. My strength is thin as thread, but the current, no longer malicious, nudges me gently toward a familiar shape in the distance. My boat, half sunken, cracked down the middle, but still afloat. I hook an arm over the splintered edge and haul myself inside. The boat groans but holds. I collapse into its battered ribs, ribs of wood instead of my own, grateful to feel something solid beneath me. For a long moment, I just lie there, listening to the distant crackle of lantern light as the drifting flames slowly wink in and out. Some extinguish fully, freeing the souls inside. Some flicker stubbornly, unwilling to leave. But none scream, none twist, none cry out in pain. The keeper's curse is broken. But the price? I press my palm against my chest. The warmth Sarah left behind pulses faintly beneath my skin. You're still here, I whisper. Not as a soul, not as a ghost, not as a presence that can speak or touch or guide me, but as a memory bound into the deepest part of me, as something she gave freely, and something I will never let go. A gentle wave nudges the boat forward. The tide is shifting, carrying me away from the center of the lantern sea. The sky above begins to pale with the first hints of dawn. For the first time in years, the sunlight reaches the water unhindered. The lanterns glow softly in its light, quiet, drifting, harmless. I drag myself upright and take the oars. My hands ache, my arms tremble, but I row, slowly, steadily, toward the horizon, toward shore, toward life. The keeper's voice is gone, his grip severed, his gate closed, but I can still feel the shape of what he nearly made me. A threshold, a hollow, a vessel waiting to be filled. The thought chills me, but then the warmth pulses beneath my palm again. Gentle, reassuring, like a sister holding my hand in the dark. I'm still me, I whisper. I'm still here, and the warmth answers, faint and fading but real. I row until the lanterns vanish behind me, until the cliffs rise ahead, until my boat grinds against familiar sand. The villagers gather in stunned silence as I collapse onto the beach. Their faces are pale. Some weep, some whisper prayers. Some stare at the sea as if expecting it to rise up and claim them. But it doesn't. The ocean is quiet. The lantern sea has become just a sea. Someone kneels beside me. A woman with shaking hands and tearful eyes. Mara, she breathes. Child, where is your sister? I swallow hard, voice barely a whisper. She saved me. The woman's hand tightens around mine. And she saved us. I nod, eyes burning, staring out at the water. The lanterns drift peacefully now. No longer prisons, no longer mouths of the lost. Some extinguish as they reach the shore. Others drift out to sea, carrying memories into the horizon. And I rise, slowly, painfully. I will return home. I will grieve. I will heal. But I will never forget. Not the darkness. Not the voices. Not the gate. And not the sister who tore herself apart to close it. As I take my first step toward the village, a faint breeze brushes past my ear. Warm, gentle, almost like a whisper, almost like her. I close my eyes. I know, I murmur. I'll live. The sun breaks the horizon. And for the first time in years, the lantern sea does not glow. The lantern struck the water with a sound like a gasp, sharp, startled, almost alive. The glow within it pulsed twice, weakly, as though whatever soul lived inside had been shaken from sleep. I didn't look back at the ship. Couldn't. If I saw the white sails or the iron hook of the bow or the silhouettes of the crew who had once called me one of their own, I knew I'd swim back. And if I swam back, I'd die. So I drifted forward. The water was warmer than before, unervingly warm. I could feel currents sliding past me, but their motion wasn't natural. They shifted like breath inhaled and exhaled around my body, guiding me, nudging me, almost urging me toward the lantern I had thrown. It bobbed a few feet ahead, glowing with a faint violet shimmer, a shimmer that wasn't its color before. I reached it. The lantern was made of thin lacquered wood, bound with strips of metal and lined with delicate rice paper. The flame inside wasn't truly a flame, never had been. It was a soul light, a curled ember of a consciousness trapped so tightly inside the shell that the glow became its only language. This one flickered frantically as I drew closer. Not in fear. In recognition. I felt it before I understood it. A tug beneath the ribs. Tightening in my throat. My vision blurring at the edges with something warm, nostalgic, dangerous. I knew this soul. Or rather, it knew me. Tell me? I whispered, closing my fingers around the frame. Who are you? The light flared so bright it pierced through the paper, branding its shape across my palm. A tendril of cold threaded up my arm, curling like a whisper around my wrist. Images struck me, not slowly, but violently, like a rushing tide that wanted to drown me. A coastline of black stones slick with evening mist. A hand in mine, warm, small, trembling. A voice sang my name like a plea. Then, a scream swallowed by water. A splash. Silence. I staggered, nearly dropping the lantern. Lisa, I choked, the name leaving me before I even knew I remembered it. The lantern trembled once, twice. Then the soul light steadied. Lisa, the girl who had followed me everywhere. The girl who vanished the night the sea took its first lantern. The girl I had tried to save or thought I had tried. Memory twisted inside me like a knife. All these years I had told myself I didn't know what happened. That she had wandered too close to the cliffs. That a wave had claimed her the way the sea claimed everything. But the sea didn't make lanterns on its own. The lantern sea only imprisoned those who were offered to it. Someone had chosen her. And from the way the images clawed through my mind, that someone might have been me. No, I whispered, clutching the lantern to my chest as though I could protect her now, all these years too late. I didn't, Lisa, I didn't give you to the water. The glow shuddered violently. I felt another wave of memories surge up, but this time the lantern fought against it, holding the truth back as if to shield me, or to shield itself. I didn't know which. The horizon ahead darkened suddenly. A shadow passed beneath the water, massive, slow, deliberate. I froze, my fingers digging into the wood of the lantern. Lisa's light dimmed, contracting like a frightened pulse. The shadow circled once, twice. Then the water rose, not in a wave, not naturally. It lifted as though pushed from below, forming a mound that swelled and curved, revealing the shape moving beneath it. A spine. A ridged, barnacle-crusted spine bigger than the masts of 3 ships. It arched above the waterline, dripping lanterns like shed scales. Hundreds of them. Thousands. They tumbled into the sea, glowing faintly, their lights blinking like dying stars. What are you? I whispered. The spine was only the beginning. The creature rose slowly, too slowly, as if ancient joints resisted motion. A long serpentine neck broke the surface next, wrapped in chains of tangled lanterns. They rattled like bones. The head followed. Not fish, not serpent, not anything with a name whispered by sane mouths. Its eyes, 2 hollow cavities filled with swirling soul light, fixed on me. The sea around me stilled. The pulsing of the sky dimmed. Every lantern on the surface flickered once in unison, like inhaling. The creature opened its mouth. Not wide, not in hunger, in a soundless, wordless cry. The glow inside its maw churned with millions of trapped lights. Millions of souls. My pulse hammered in my ears, but beneath it, beneath the fear and the awe and the bone-deep dread, I heard something else. Lisa's lantern.
Rapid.
Pleading. The creature lowered its head until its eyes were level with mine. The water around me vibrated, humming through my bones. Then, a voice pressed directly into my mind. You carry what is mine. My grip tightened around Lisa's lantern until the wood snapped under my fingers.
No, I whispered numbly.
She is not yours. The sea rumbled. Lanterns drifted closer, forming a wide circle around me and the creature. One by one they dimmed, except Lisa's. The exchange was made. The debt is owed. Return what was given. I never made any exchange. The creature's silence was more terrible than any roar. You did. The water surged upward, lifting me several feet before dropping me again. Cold shot through my body as I plunged beneath the surface. Salt stung my eyes, my nose, my throat. I kicked toward the light, breaking the surface with a gasp. The creature was waiting. Its lantern chains rattled in the windless air. I looked down. Lisa's lantern had floated from my hands, glowing brighter than ever, drifting toward the creature.
No, no.
I lunged for it. The creature's shadow expanded beneath me. Then, in a single smooth motion, its lantern-bound neck swept forward and swallowed the lantern whole. The glow vanished into its chest, absorbed into the swirling mass of souls. I screamed. Not a word, not a name, just a raw sound ripped from whatever piece of me still believed I could save her. The creature leaned close, its massive face inches from mine. The soul light in its hollow eyes flickered. One returned. One remains. I trembled. What are you saying? You broke the balance. You must replace what you stole. I didn't steal. Then why does her memory live in you? My veins iced over. The water grew still again. The sky above flickered as if the world itself were a lantern running out of wick. The creature's breath, or what passed for breath, washed over me like cold fog. You will give what you took, or you will join them. The lanterns around me suddenly flared, revealing faces within the glow, brief flashes of distorted features twisted in agony. Lisa's face appeared among them, her eyes wide, her lips shaping a single word, run. But there was nowhere to run, and the creature knew it. It lowered its head once more, expectant, waiting. The sea fell silent, and I realized with a sickening clarity, the creature wanted my soul, and it would take it, unless I gave it someone else. I swallowed hard, salt thick in my throat. I don't have anyone, I whispered, voice breaking. But that wasn't true. Not entirely, because someone else had brought me here. Someone else had lied to me for years. Someone else knew the truth about the Lantern Sea and what it demanded. And that someone was still very much alive. My voice trembled as I whispered into the windless dark. I know who you want. The creature stilled. The lanterns around me glowed brighter. My heartbeat thundered in my chest. And the sea opened beneath me. The sea did not swallow me. Not yet. Instead it lowered me, slowly, deliberately, into a cradle of warm currents that held my body like invisible hands. The creature sank back beneath the surface, its massive spine rolling and vanishing into the glow of the drifting lanterns. Only its voice remained, pressed into my thoughts like a burning brand. Bring the one who owes. Bring the one who broke the bond. The one who broke the bond. The one who took Lisa. The one who had lied. I floated, trembling, as the currents carried me toward a place where the lanterns thinned and the water darkened into a vast, empty stretch. It was the sea's way of giving me a path, a warning, a chance. But I couldn't move. Not at first. Something inside me twisted and writhed, grief, guilt, shock, disbelief. It churned through my ribs like a living thing, clawing upward until I tasted bitterness on my tongue. Lisa was gone. Truly gone this time, taken back by the sea. Because of me. Because I had remembered. The creature's words echoed deeper, into a part of me I didn't want to acknowledge. Then why does her memory live in you? Why did I remember? Why now? Why, after all these years of insisting, she had simply fallen? I clenched my shaking hands. My nails dug into my palms. The truth lurked just beneath the surface of my mind, dark, murky, shifting like shadows under glass. Every instinct screamed not to look at it, not to remember. But if I didn't, the creature would come for me next. I forced a breath into lungs that didn't want to expand. And then I began to swim. Not toward the open water. Not toward freedom. Back toward land. Back toward him. By the time the coastline came into view, my arms felt like they were made of wet sand. My legs burned with each kick. The salt gnawed at my eyes until everything blurred. But I kept going, driven by something that felt part rage, part dread, part inevitability. The shore rose sharply, black stone cliffs slick with the glowing mist of early night. Lanterns drifted far behind me now, dim stars scattered across the endless sea of souls. When my hand finally scraped rock, I almost sobbed. I dragged myself upward, gripping jagged edges until my fingers bled. The wind hit me like a slap, cold, sharp, smelling of moss and night-blooming weeds. The village lay beyond the cliffs, hidden behind thin pines and crooked pathways that had once been familiar. And at the highest point, overlooking the edge where Lisa vanished, his home waited. A single lantern burned in the window. Not a soul lantern, just ordinary firelight, wavering and soft. I stood there for a long moment, letting the cold wind drain the heat from my skin. My breath clouded in front of me. I could hear nothing but the distant crash of waves below and the frantic thrum of my own pulse. Then I went to him. Every step felt heavier, every memory sharper. His door opened before I could knock. He stood there. Older now, shoulders stooped, beard streaked with silver, eyes shadowed by something I had once mistaken for sorrow. "It's you," he said softly, as though he'd expected me all along. "You came back." I stared at him, at the man who had raised me, the man who had told me the sea had taken Lisa by chance, the man who had taught me never to question the lanterns. My voice rasped out of me like something brittle. "Why didn't you tell me?" His eyes flicked to my torn palms, my wet clothes, my trembling. "The sea called you," he murmured. I felt it the moment the tide shifted. "I asked you a question." He didn't answer. He stepped aside, wordlessly inviting me inside. And for the first time in my life, I was afraid of him. The house smelled the same: smoke, dried nettle leaves, old wood. A pot simmered on the hearth, though nothing was left inside it but darkened residue. The walls were lined with maps of currents and tide readings, carefully inked over years. Except, a new sheet of parchment lay open on the table. I stepped closer. It was not a map. It was a ledger, with names. Hundreds of names. Names I recognized. Names of villagers. Names of the lost. Names marked with dates of offering. And next to each, a symbol of a lantern. My breath hitched painfully. My chest tightened until every heartbeat felt like a bruise. He closed the door behind me. "You weren't supposed to see that. Lisa's name is in there." He didn't deny it. I lifted the parchment with numb fingers. Lisa's name was written halfway down the page, dated the night she disappeared. And beside it, my name, not as the offered, as the offering. A trembling fury began to uncoil slowly inside me. "You wrote that I brought her to the cliffs." "No," he said quietly. "I wrote that you were meant to." My vision sharpened, cold and precise. "What did you do?" He rubbed his face with both hands, weariness dripping from him like water. "You were chosen by the sea the day you were born. Marked, tied to it. It took your mother, and it would have taken you too if I hadn't made the pact." My breath came out in a broken whisper. "You made a pact?" "Yes." His voice cracked. "I offered a soul in your place." The room tilted. Not physically, just enough that my mind felt like it slipped sideways. "Lisa," I whispered. He bowed his head. "She followed you to the cliffs. You weren't supposed to be there. You were supposed to stay inside. But she loved you. She always followed you." The fire popped sharply in the hearth. I stared at him. "You pushed her." His silence was the answer. Cold spread through me like ink in water. "You murdered her." His eyes snapped up, wet and wild. "I saved you." I took one step back. He reached toward me as if to steady me, but I recoiled. His hands fell to his sides. "The sea demanded balance," he whispered. "It always has. Someone must be given or it takes more. I gave it her soul so it wouldn't claim yours." I felt something break inside me. Thin, delicate thing, like paper or lantern skin. "It wants you now," I said flatly. "It said you're the one who broke the bond." Then it lied. His voice hardened. "It always lies. The sea never stops taking. If you give it me, it will only ask for you next." "No," I said softly. He froze, because I wasn't speaking to him. I was speaking to the voice in my mind. The creature's voice. The sea's voice. Because the moment I stepped inside this house, I felt it again. A current. A pull. A whisper curling behind my eyes. "He speaks falsely." Dios, bring him, my guardian, my murderer. Stared at me, horror dawning slowly as he realized I wasn't alone. What did it tell you? He whispered. The air grew cold. The lantern in the window flickered. The truth, I said. You don't understand. You can't trust it. The sea binds whoever listens. It bound you. I cut in. He flinched. It claimed you years ago. I continued, my voice shaking now, not with fear, but with certainty. And you've been paying its debts with other people ever since. His shoulders sagged, defeated. I did what I had to.
No, he whispered.
You did what you chose. I stepped toward him. He backed away. The floorboards creaked under his heel as he pressed his spine against the far wall. The creature's whisper pressed tighter inside my skull, urgent and hungry. Bring him. A memory surfaced. One I had buried so deep I didn't even know it was mine until now. Lisa's hand slipping from mine. Her scream. The splash. Me reaching for her. And someone pulling me back. Not the sea. Not the wind. His hand. His hand clamped on my shoulder, dragging me away. I gasped. You held me back, I whispered. I tried to save her. He closed his eyes. I couldn't lose you. You lost both of us. I moved. He twisted to run. But I was faster. Not because of strength. Not because of rage. Because the sea guided me. A current surged under the house, an impossible thing, and the floorboards split with a sharp crack. He stumbled, fell, and I slammed into him, sending us both crashing onto the wooden floor. He struggled under me, breath ragged. Please listen. I listened for years, I said. I listened to your lies. The floor beneath him groaned, splintered, opened. Black water surged upward like a hand reaching to claim him. He screamed, a raw, terrified sound that didn't belong to the man I once trusted. His fingers clawed at the wood, at my sleeves, at anything. I saved you, he cried. I saved your life. You stole hers. The water wrapped around him, dragged him down. He vanished beneath the floor, swallowed whole by the sea's cold hunger. The last thing I heard was his voice echoing faintly in my mind. It will take you next. Then silence. The house stilled. The water receded. And I sat alone on the broken boards, trembling. A lantern outside flickered brightly. Then another. Then all of them. A wave of light shimmering along the coast. A voice whispered through the air, soft and resonant. The balance is kept. For now. The wind died. The world held its breath. And deep in the sea, something awoke. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. The house, his house, groaned and settled around me like an old creature breathing. The floorboards where he was taken were still damp, swollen with salt water that hadn't come from any storm. Every time the wind pushed against the walls, the wood let out a sigh that sounded too close to someone whispering my name. I sat in the corner, knees pulled to my chest, lantern light trembling across my face. Every breath felt like stealing. Every second felt borrowed. The sea had taken what it wanted, but its hunger had barely stirred. I felt it, a low, distant rumble beneath the cliffs, a shifting in the water as though something massive had rolled over in its sleep. It had been quiet for one night, but quiet didn't mean peace. I stared at the broken boards where he disappeared, my pulse loud in my ears. He was gone, my guardian, my murderer, my savior, my curse. Gone in a single second, taken by the thing he had bargained with. But his last words clung to me like cold breath. It will take you next. I pressed my palms to my temples, squeezing hard until stars danced behind my eyelids. He was wrong. He had to be wrong. I did what the sea wanted. I brought the one who owed. The balance was kept. But the memory of the creature's hollow eyes, burning with the stolen glow of a million souls, scraped through my mind. Balance was never enough for things like that. I stood. I had to leave the house. The walls felt too tight, the shadows too still. When I stepped outside, the sky was a deep bruise purple. Thick clouds veined with faint golden streaks drifting low over the water. The village lay quiet beneath them. Doors barred. Windows shuttered. Lanterns hung from eaves and gates, softly glowing with their ember-like souls. Everyone knew. Not about my guardian. Not about Lisa. Not about the pact. They knew the sea had stirred. And when the sea stirred, no one slept. The cliffs called to me, not with a voice, not yet, but with memory. I walked, barefoot on cold dirt, lantern shadows swaying around me, the wind carrying a smell like wet stone and old ghosts. When I reached the cliffs, the waves crashed below with a rhythm that felt almost deliberate. A slow, steady thrum, calling, waiting. I looked down. This was where Lisa fell, where she was given, where I had been held back by hands that claimed to protect me. I knelt, fingers tracing the cracks in the stone. A faint glow pulsed between the rocks. Not lantern light, not moonlight, something older. I leaned closer. The glow brightened, and then a voice, her voice, brushed against my ear like a warm breeze from somewhere far beneath the surface. You shouldn't have come. My breath caught. My vision blurred. Lisa! The wind hissed across the cliff, but the voice didn't fade. You shouldn't have come back. Not here. Not alone. I swallowed hard, my throat burning. I had to. I had to know. No. The voice trembled, frayed at the edges like someone speaking through water. You had to run. You still do. I shook my head violently. I can't run. Not anymore. I need answers. I need... The sea never gives answers. Only hunger. A pause. You weren't supposed to remember me. Not like this. I remember everything. I whispered. I remember the cliffs. I remember your hand slipping. I remember... Do you? The glow flickered. Something cold brushed the back of my neck. A current. A thread of water that didn't belong on land. I stood too fast, stumbling backward. The sea below went silent. Utterly, impossibly silent. The waves froze mid-crash, suspended like glass. Every hair on my body lifted. Then, a lantern bobbed up from below the cliffside, rising through the still air. Not drifting, not carried by wind. Rising. Perfect sphere of pale blue light. Lisa's color. My breath shattered.
No, Iwis parat.
No, I saw it. I saw it swallowed. It's gone. You're gone. Souls don't stay swallowed. Not when they remember. The lantern drifted closer until it hovered at eye level. Inside the glow, I saw her face. Lisa's face. Flickering between clarity and mist. Her eyes were wide, too wide. The pupils dilated like something chased by endless dark. It's awake, she whispered. A tremor ran through the cliffs. It woke the moment you touched the water. It woke when you remembered me. It woke when you brought him. A low groan rose from the ocean, deep enough to rattle my teeth. The clouds above churned in tight spirals, glowing faintly. The lantern shook violently. Her voice broke into static. Run. What is it? I cried. What woke? What does it want? The ocean split. Not a wave. Not a ripple. A seam opening in the very surface, revealing black depths beneath. From those depths, a shape rose. Massive, spined, dripping lanterns like tears. The same creature, but not the same. It was bigger, hungrier, awake. The lantern that held Lisa's soul jerked violently toward it, pulled by invisible threads. I lunged, reaching for it. Lisa! Her voice screamed in my mind. Run! My fingers grazed the lantern. And in that instant, something inside me snapped open. A seam, a memory, a truth I had never let myself see. The night Lisa fell, she didn't fall. She was pushed, but not by him, not by the sea, by me, not willingly, not knowingly. But my hand had been guided by a current, a whisper, a call. I had been marked, chosen, tied to the sea long before I knew what it meant. My gasp tore from my throat like a wound. The lantern slipped through my grasp and shot toward the creature. I stumbled back from the cliff's edge, knees buckling. No, I whispered, voice cracking. No, no, no. The creature's maw opened. The lantern vanished inside. The soul light dimmed. Her scream echoed once inside my skull. Then nothing. The sea roared. The sky darkened, and the creature looked at me, directly at me. The balance was never meant for him. A pause. It is meant for you. Cold stabbed into me, straight through the ribs. I brought you the one who owed. He owed for his choices. You owe for your nature. My nature? The creature lifted its head, lanterns clattering like bones in the wind. You were born from US, made for US, marked by US. No, you are the debt. The cliffs trembled beneath my feet. The sea opened wider, and I understood I wasn't the victim of a pact. I was the pact, the offering, the balance, the constant hunger given a shape. I staggered back, breath coming in frantic gasps. I'm not yours. You always were. The ground split. Hands, water-shaped, lantern-lit, shot upward and wrapped around my ankles. I fell hard onto the stone. The creature began to rise higher, towering over the cliffs, shadow stretching across the land like a living eclipse. The lanterns hanging from its body flared with blinding light, one by one, bursting into shapes. Faces of the lost, distorted, screaming, begging. My guardian, Lisa, hundreds more, all staring at me, all reaching for me, all bound to me. The balance returns. The hands tightened, dragged. My nails tore against the stone. My throat burned with a scream I couldn't release. The sea pulled harder. I clawed at the cliffside, but the stone crumbled in my grip. My body slid toward the edge. The ocean thundered with anticipation. The creature leaned close. Its voice was a hiss of souls tearing. Come home. And I fell. The fall should have killed me. The cliffs were high, razor edges of black stone, jagged and hungry, and the sea below was a churning maw of white foam and lantern light. But the moment my body crossed the threshold between land and water, the world shifted. Gravity loosened. Time stretched thin. Every sound sharpened until even my heartbeat rang like a bell drowning in its own echo. I wasn't dropping. I was sinking, through air that felt like water, through water that felt like smoke, through something that wasn't meant for anyone still breathing. Lanterns surrounded me, thousands of them, rising from the depths, drifting like pale stars around my falling body. Their light brushed my skin, and every touch sent a cold memory flickering across my vision. A broken doorway, a hand slipping from mine, a shadow moving behind me, whispers in the tide. The deeper I fell, the thicker the water became, pressing against me like a giant palm flattening me into stillness. And then darkness, not the absence of light, presence, a pulse, consciousness. It rose around me like a cathedral carved of obsidian, stretching infinitely in every direction. The lanterns dimmed, their glow swallowed into the void. My breath caught in my throat, and the cold wrapped around my bones like a lover reclaiming what belonged to them. I forced my eyes open. Below me, if below still meant anything, something enormous slept beneath the black water. The creature I saw before was only a fragment, a sliver, a shadow born from this impossible titan curled beneath the sea's skin. The true body, the true hunger, a shape so vast that my mind refused to form boundaries around it. Spines like mountains, flesh like shifting darkness, eyes like hollow lanterns containing storms of stolen souls. It slept, and yet it watched. A trembling voice echoed inside my skull, not heard through ears but through bone. So little, so frail, so mine. I thrashed, panic burning through me, but invisible currents wrapped around my limbs, binding me in place. What are you? My voice sounded small, swallowed instantly by the dark. The void trembled with something like laughter. We are the sea. We are the depth. We are the first and final hunger. The word we chilled me more than anything else. We. The lantern is a vessel. The soul is a seed. And you, the currents tightened around me, pulling me closer. Are our bloom. No, my chest heaved, breath thinning under the crushing pressure. No, I'm human. You were born from a body, but not to it. Images exploded behind my eyes. A woman, my mother, running across the cliffs in a storm, clutching her swollen belly. A wave rising unnaturally high, reaching for her. A lantern bursting beneath the water, releasing a soul that spiraled upward into her womb like a serpent made of light. The sea claiming her hours later, leaving me, a vessel made from flesh, filled with something that was never human. No, I whispered, my voice cracking.
No.
That's not true. You were always our debt, our promise, our child. The word child nearly broke something inside me. I shook my head violently. I'm not yours. I don't belong to this. A lantern drifted close, pale, trembling, quivering like a frightened heart. Inside it, a face flickered. Lisa. Her eyes were wide with terror. She pressed her palms against the lantern's interior, her voice soft, but urgent, threading into my thoughts. You have to fight it. You have to wake up.
I'm awake, he whispered.
No, not here. Here you're dreaming. Here you're inside its mouth. My breath hitched sharply. I looked down. The water beneath me was not water. It was teeth. Massive, jagged teeth arranged in concentric spirals, each row larger than the last, forming a tunnel of gnashing obsidian around a single point of impossible depth. And I was hanging just above them, suspended, waiting. No, 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 please. Lisa's lantern pulsed violently. Listen to me. It's feeding. Not on your body. On what you are. What am I? Her light dimmed. A door. The void rumbled. The creature stirred slightly, water trembling like a heartbeat. Once you open, we rise. The pressure around me tightened, squeezing my ribs, crushing my lungs. My vision darkened at the edges. The creature no longer sounded ancient or distant. Its voice filled me now, like it was inside my blood. Open, open, open. Lisa screamed inside her lantern. Don't listen. I felt the seams of my mind beginning to split, like something inside me, buried, coiled, waiting, wanted out. I clamped my hands over my head, screaming, "Get out of me!" The water exploded in light. A lantern burst. Then another. Dozens. Hundreds. Souls flared and blinked out like stars dying in rapid succession, their screams merging into one colossal wail that shattered the crushing silence. The creature recoiled. Not far, not fearfully, but enough for the pressure around me to loosen. Lisa's lantern shot toward me, her face contorted with panic. Wake up! Wake up! My vision cracked like glass struck with a hammer. The teeth below blurred. The void shrank. Lanterns flickered like distant fireflies. And then air, salt, wind, gravity returning like a punch. I was falling again, this time for real. I hit the surface of the water like a stone. Pain shot through every bone in my body. Cold swallowed me whole. For a second, I sank. Then something small and warm brushed my hand. Lisa's lantern, floating beside me, her voice trembling, weak. You're not safe. Not here. Not anywhere. I gasped, kicking upward, breaking the surface with a desperate breath. The cliffs towered above me. The creature was gone. But its voice lingered inside me like a bruise that would never fade. Soon, the lantern dimmed in my shaking hands. Lisa whispered, "We have to run, before it wakes again." And for the first time, I realized she didn't mean run from the sea. She meant run from me. The taste of salt turned sharp, metallic, as if the sea itself had begun to bleed. I felt a pressure in my skull, a thin needle pushing inward, and for a moment I thought it was only fear. But then the sensation pulsed, steady, deliberate, like something tapping from the inside of my mind. A lantern drifted closer, not the one I'd been holding. Another, dim, barely glowing, its inner flame sputtering like a dying breath. I tried to look away, but the tapping in my head synced with the flicker of its light. Every blink of the flame struck a nerve. Every pulse tightened the muscles along my spine. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't even want it near me. But the tide carried it with a slow inevitability, bumping gently against my hand, nudging like a persistent child desperate not to be ignored. The tapping grew louder inside my skull. I squeezed my eyes shut. No, I wouldn't listen. Not again. But the lantern pressed harder, almost climbing onto my palm, until its heat tingled across my skin. I tried to push it away, gently, carefully, but the moment my fingers brushed the paper surface, my vision convulsed. A breath that wasn't mine filled my lungs. A scream I didn't make rattled my teeth. Then darkness. Not the gentle darkness behind closed eyes. A swallowing, suffocating black. I felt myself sinking, not into water but into memory. Someone else's memory, unfolding like a rotten book. I stood on a pier. Rain hammered the wood. My hands shook around a rope I'd tied too tightly around a girl's wrists. A girl crying, begging, pleading. Please don't. Please. I'm sorry. I'll come back. A voice answered her, familiar and yet not mine. You left, and you don't get to leave again. I felt the shove, the weight of her body tipping, the splash, her scream swallowed by the sea. Then her lantern rising, forming from the water like a breath becoming fire. Her consciousness trapped, drifting upward while the person I inhabited whispered, "No one leaves me." When the vision released me, I collapsed onto the raft, gasping, shaking so violently the lantern rolled from my hand and spun in a circle, its light trembling as if afraid of me. I choked on the air, on the memory, on the guilt that wasn't mine but felt like tar sticking to my ribs. That man, whoever he'd been, was still out there. His soul wasn't trapped. His lantern hadn't formed. Some lanterns held the innocent, the lost. Some held those who died wronged. But this man's lantern would have been different, darker, absent, which meant he hadn't died at all. A cold wind knifed across the water. For the first time since I set out, the lanterns shifted their drift. Not random, not aimless. They pulled in one direction, as if something below them had stirred, drawing them toward a single unseen point in the open sea. My breath hitched. No, someone. Someone was walking beneath the tides. The water rose in subtle humps, as though a figure paced along the sea floor, pushing currents upward with each slow step. The lanterns above flickered in response, bowing, quivering, leaning toward that path. The tapping in my skull returned, louder, angrier. I forced myself upright, gripping the raft. Then, through the shifting lights, I saw it. A human silhouette just beneath the water, too tall, too narrow, moving with calm purpose. Each step left the sea trembling. Lanterns dimmed as it passed below them, shadows smothering their light. I knew, without anyone needing to tell me, who it was. The man whose memory I had been forced to witness. He wasn't dead. He was searching, and lanterns weren't the only things that could trap a soul. I gripped the edges of the raft, heart hammering so hard I feared it would call attention to me. The figure turned its head, slowly, slightly, and the water flashed with a reflection of hollow, unblinking eyes. It had sensed me. The raft jolted as the sea beneath rippled violently. Lanterns all around me flickered like dying stars. The silhouette began walking directly toward me beneath the surface. I tried to paddle away. I don't know how, I don't remember moving, only the frantic splashing of my arms. But the water became thick, resisting me, pushing me back toward him, as if the sea itself was siding with him. My raft stopped entirely, locked in place. The lanterns above me arranged themselves in an eerie ring, orbiting my small patch of water, spinning faster and faster around me like a glowing whirlpool. A voice, not spoken aloud but pressed directly into my skull, slid across my thoughts. "You carry her light." I froze. He meant the lantern whose memories had invaded me. The girl he drowned, his daughter, his sister, his lover, his victim. The voice strained, trembling with something like obsession. "Give her back." The sea rose beneath me, lifting my raft a full foot. I nearly toppled into the water. "No," I whispered before I could stop myself. The sea answered with a roar deep below the surface. The orbiting lanterns whirled faster, becoming streaks of fire. Their light stretched thin, tearing into long, ribbon-like trails that dipped into the water as though something below was sucking the brightness downward. The silhouette reached the water just under my raft. A hand, a pale, distorted, waterlogged hand, rose from the sea, fingers long and skeletal, reaching upward toward me. I scrambled backward, slipping on wet wood. The hand kept rising. The water poured off its fingers like strands of hair. Then a second hand emerged, gripping the side of my raft. The wood creaked under its strength. The voice pressed harder against my mind. Give her back. I reached blindly behind me, grabbing the lantern. Its flame trembled, tiny, afraid, flickering in frantic gasps. No, I said again, louder this time. She's not yours. The sea exploded upward. Water engulfed me. The lantern nearly slipped from my grasp. The figure erupted from the ocean, standing above me, towering, skin stretched thin, mouth a cracked line, eyes hollow pits leaking lantern light. He wasn't alive. He wasn't dead. He was something lanterns created when they couldn't carry all the darkness of a soul. A leftover, a remnant, a hunter. His voice tore through my skull. Give her back. Then the raft splintered under us. The sea swallowed everything, and the lantern in my hand went dark. Oh! I woke floating in darkness. But this time this darkness breathed, and it was breathing me. The darkness had weight, not the weight of water or of night, but of presence. An immense, patient awareness pressing around me like a mind too large to comprehend. I didn't feel my limbs. I didn't feel the sea. I felt only the slow inhale of something vast, pulling at the edges of my consciousness as if tasting me. When it exhaled, the darkness rippled with faint, trembling lights. Lanterns. Thousands. Maybe millions. Floating in a void so deep it didn't resemble water anymore. They pulsed weakly, some as dim as dying embers, others bright enough to cast trembling halos across the churning black. But all of them were suspended, unmoving, as if stuck in a single eternal breath. I wasn't standing. I wasn't floating. I was simply there, suspended like the lanterns, but alive, somehow, in a place where life felt foreign. I tried to speak. No sound emerged. My thoughts felt muffled, thick, as if the darkness soaked up everything that wasn't fear. Then, a flicker. A lantern drifted toward me with slow, deliberate intention. Its paper was torn, its flame nearly extinguished, but as it neared, the light grew, recognition, almost relief vibrating through its glow. It was the girl's lantern, the one whose memories had forced themselves into my mind, the one the hunter demanded I return. Her flame pulsed softly, calming, like a hand on my shoulder, and then her voice, not spoken, not even thought, just a presence curling into my awareness. You shouldn't be here. The darkness around us inhaled again, and she dimmed in fear. It's awake now. You brought it with you. The weight pressing around my mind shifted. Curious now, turning its attention fully toward me. Lanterns trembled, scattering like startled birds. Their light revealed contours in the darkness. Massive, slow-moving shapes, tendrils like liquid shadow curling outward as if smelling the air. And then I understood it wasn't simply an ocean holding souls. It was feeding on them. The lantern sea wasn't a surface phenomenon. It wasn't a curse. It wasn't even natural. It was alive. A colossal being spanning the ocean's abyss. Its body formed from fluid shadow and devouring currents. Every lantern was a soul suspended inside it, kept alive just long enough to ripen. The girl's flame quivered. It doesn't usually wake. But the hunter disturbed it. He's been walking the sea floor for years, searching for me, pulling the currents tight. He tore at its body with every step. My thoughts struggled to make sense. The hunter? That thing under the water? He was human once. He was its first escape. Her flame dimmed with sorrow. The only soul who broke free and walked away unconsumed. The darkness inhaled again. This time, the lanterns nearest us were pulled inward, hundreds of them, dragged screaming silently into the black mass. Their flames were snuffed in an instant. The girl's lantern flickered violently. It's hungry now. Run. I almost laughed. Run? Where? In a void? In a place without direction, without gravity. But she wasn't speaking metaphorically. The lantern suddenly shot away from me, streaking light across the void, and instinctively, impossibly, my body followed, as if tethered to her flame. I felt motion, wind, water, everything at once and none of it distinctly. The darkness roared behind us. Not sound, emotion. A tidal wave of hunger, outrage, confusion. Something enormous shifted in the depths, and a tendril whipped past me. Cold, sharp, slicing through nearby lanterns like a blade. Their consciousnesses flickered out in tiny sparks. The girl's voice pulsed urgently. Hold on. Don't let go of the memory I showed you. It's the only thing it can't swallow. That made no sense. Why? Her lantern blinked. Once, twice. A strange rhythm that felt like a heartbeat. Because it belongs to someone who escaped. Can't digest escape. Can only fear it. The void around us trembled as if struck by a storm. The hunter's presence flickered somewhere far behind. Sharp, jagged, relentless. He too was chasing us. We were trapped between two impossible predators. The girl's lantern streaked toward something ahead. Something that looked like a rift in the darkness. A seam of pale blue light splitting the void like a wound. As we neared, I felt currents tug against us. Currents not made of water but of will. The sea creature's mind groped, clawed, tried to drag me backward, whispering in 1,000 stolen voices. Stay, stay, stay. The lantern's flame screamed in white-hot bursts. Jump! Now! My body lurched forward on instinct alone. I plunged through the rift. Light swallowed everything. For a heartbeat, silence. Then air. Real, breathable, burning air. I fell coughing onto solid wood, the remnants of my shattered raft, now reformed into a warped, splintered platform drifting on open sea beneath a gray, storm-churned sky. Lanterns floated around me again, hundreds, thousands. But these flickered with normal caution, wary but not terrified. The girl's lantern hovered in front of me, flame steady now. I exhaled in relief, but relief lasted only a moment, because behind the lantern the water bulged upward. A hand emerged, then a head, then hollow eyes. The hunter had followed us through. The girl's voice shattered inside my mind. Run. The hunter rose from the sea like a shadow made of bone and grief, water dripping from him in long, trembling strands. He wasn't rushing now. He didn't need to. His steps onto the broken raft were almost gentle, each one humming through the wood like the toll of a distant bell. His eyes, empty sockets glowing with thin threads of lantern light, locked onto the one floating near me. Her lantern dimmed in terror. I backed away until splinters dug into my palms. Stop, I whispered, not to him, but to the sea, to the sky, to whatever still listened. Please, stop. But the hunter didn't stop. His voice crawled back into my mind, quieter now, almost fragile. She was mine. The girl's lantern pulsed sharply, like a slap. I was not yours. I was never yours. A ripple crossed his hollow face, something like pain or confusion. Realized then, her memory had ended before the truth did. She hadn't shown me everything. She'd shown me only what mattered to help me escape the creature beneath the lanterns. But the story between her and the hunter, the man, that story ran deeper than I wanted to know. He reached toward her lantern. Not fast, not violent, just reaching. Stop, I said again, louder this time. He didn't even look at me. That was what broke something in me. Not the fear, not the monster, not the fact that he'd followed us from a living abyss. It was the indifference, the idea that I wasn't even a threat or an obstacle. I was just irrelevant. I grabbed the edge of a broken plank and pushed myself between them. He froze. His empty eyes lowered toward me slowly, as if remembering for the first time that I existed. She told you no? I said, my voice shaking but clear. You heard her. The wind howled across the sea. Lanterns bobbed nervously. His mouth opened slightly, cracking, splitting, leaking a soft glow. When he spoke, the words weren't thoughts anymore. They were sound, frail, human. She left me. The girl's lantern flared with a sudden sharp pain. I ran from you. His body twitched. She was mine. I am not property. I kept her safe. You kept me caged. I loved you. You owned me. Each statement struck the air with the weight of truth and denial, guilt and delusion woven together until it was impossible to tell which was which. But something in his posture shifted. Something in him cracked. The truth was finally being spoken in front of him, not whispered inside memories he tried to drown. A wave slammed against the raft. The girl's lantern flickered violently. He can't stay like this, she whispered to me. He'll tear the sea awake again, and next time there won't be a rift to escape through. You must finish this. Finish? I asked, voice breaking. Finish how? I'm nothing. I can't kill him. I can barely stand. You don't need to kill him. The lantern floated closer to his face, her flame trembling. You need to release me. My breath caught. The truth crashed over me like a cold tide. Her soul was still tethered, trapped, held by the bond he refused to sever. As long as she was anchored to him, to his obsession, she would burn forever inside that fragile paper shell. I swallowed hard, throat tight. What happens to you if I release you? Her flame dimmed gently. I stopped being a lantern. And then, a pause. Then I stopped being at all. The air left my lungs.
No, he whispered.
No, there has to be another way. Another lantern drifted near, as if listening. Then another, and another. Soon, dozens circled us, souls witnessing the decision. The hunter moved slightly, as if sensing the shift. She's mine, he repeated, voice fraying. She stays. The girl pulsed softly. Please. I felt my hands tremble. I felt the sea hold its breath. And I knew what she was asking. Lanterns were souls bound in fragile skins. To free one, I had to break it. The hunter lunged. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I grabbed the girl's lantern in both hands. Her flame warmed me gently. Gratitude, trust, sorrow.
I'm sorry, he whispered.
She answered with a final flicker. Thank you. I crushed the lantern. Light exploded through my fingers, warm, soft, dissolving into 1,000 glittering sparks that drifted upward like a sigh rising into the wind. The hunter froze mid-movement. His empty eyes dimmed, flickered, struggled to hold their stolen glow. No, he whispered, voice breaking. No, no. His body wavered like smoke caught in a storm. Lantern light leaked from the cracks in his skin. She was mine, his voice shattered. The glow inside him spiraled upward, torn free, unraveling his shape. She left. His knees buckled. His form collapsed inward, dissolving into drifting threads of pale light, then into nothing at all as the sea swallowed the last remnants of him. Silence. The lanterns around us dimmed in mourning. I sank to my knees on the broken raft, shaking, staring at the last shimmering particles fading into the sky. She's gone, I whispered to the quiet water. But the sea didn't answer. Only one lantern drifted near me. A dim one, small, almost shy, pressed lightly against my hand. Not the girl. Not anyone I knew. Just someone offering quiet company. The sky slowly brightened with dawn. Lanterns drifted away on the gentle currents, returning to their endless wander. The lantern sea exhaled, a softer breath this time, peaceful, almost grateful. I lay back on the splintered wood, letting the tide carry me wherever it wanted. The story was ending. The sea would sleep again. But one truth lingered like the glow under my eyelids. No soul drifts forever, not even mine. And somewhere beneath the waves, the sea whispered my name, not to claim me, but to remember me.